Welcome. I'd like to walk you through this graph to explain my data for my first action steps. On the top, you'll see each heading. We have the action steps, data being measured, and then each test. So my first action step was a combination of ways to reach out to students. I sent reminder emails, class newsletters. You can click there and see an example of my class newsletter. Also, I called individual students to remind them to take their tests. And then you can see the data being measured, the percentage of students that completed their test on or before the due date due to those action steps. So for the first test, I made 80%. 47% took their test on or before the due date. With the mid-unit test, I did not meet the goal. I was at 75%. Only 36% took their test on or before the due date. And then for the Unit 2 test, I did not meet the goal. I had 66% participation, with 95% taking the test on or before the due date. So I'm not sure what the change was there, but 95% took their test without me having to reach out to them again. If you move down, reaching out to advisors for additional support, I measured this data by looking at the percentage of tests completed after advisors reached out to the students. The first test, I had a lot of success with this advisor support. 30 tests actually came in, which was 21%. The next test, my advisors focusing on no start students. So they didn't have much impact on the overall amount of tests that came in. Same with the second test. There wasn't a lot of students who took their test after advisors reached out. And finally, I did a retake opportunity after each test, and I looked at the percentage of tests completed during the retake. I had 32% come in as retakes for the first test. 63% came in as retakes for the second test, and I'll tell you, a lot of those were one-on-ones. So I was in a classroom with the kid as they took their test, or I was calling and reaching out individually to students to get them to take their test, which is quite time-consuming. And then for the Unit 2 final test, I haven't updated this. I just took my retake yesterday, but I only had 7 so far. But I know that number is going to go up a little bit because I did have a retake yesterday. So hopefully that helps you understand some of the graph. And I'd be curious to figure out how to make students take their tests without a lot of additional support from advisors or reaching out to them after the due date.